The land of the pharaohs is famous for its huge pyramids, its bandaged mummies, and its golden treasures. But how much do you really know about ancient Egypt? Was the Great Pyramid built by slaves? How did mummification work? Well, to learn all this stuff, you need to watch the video till the very end. Personally, I can't even believe the last one. And don't forget to tell us what you think of these secrets. Let us know in the comment section below. Welcome to Mega Luxury. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss amazing videos from us. Here are 10 dark secrets you won't believe about ancient Egypt. Let's go. Number 1. They did not ride camels. The camel was not used regularly in Egypt until the very end of the dynastic age. Instead, Egyptians used donkeys as beasts of burden, and boats as a highly convenient means of transport. The Nile River flowed through the center of the fertile land, creating a natural highway and sewer. The current helped those who needed to row from south to north, while the wind made life easy for those who wished to sail in the opposite direction. The river was linked to settlements, quarries, and building sites by canals. Huge wooden barrages were used to transport grain and heavy stone blocks. Light papyrus boats ferried people about their daily business. And every day, high above the river, the sun god Ra was believed to sail across the sky in his solar boat. Number 2. Not everyone was mummified. The mummy as eviscerated, dried, and bandaged corpse has become a defining Egyptian artifact. Yet mummification was an expensive and time-consuming process, reserved for the more wealthy members of society. The vast majority of Egypt's dead were buried in simple pits in the desert. So why did the elite feel the need to mummify their dead? They believed that it was possible to live again after death, but only if the body retained a recognizable human form. Ironically, this could have been achieved quite easily by burying the dead in direct contact with the hot and sterile desert sand. A natural desiccation would then have occurred, but the elite wanted to be buried in coffins within tombs, and this meant that their corpses no longer in direct contact with the sand started to rot. The twin requirements of elaborate burial equipped plus a recognizable body led to the science of artificial mummification. Number 3. The living shared food with the dead. The tomb was designed as an eternal home for the mummified body and the Ka spirit that lived beside it. An accessible tomb chapel allowed families, well-wishers, and priests to visit the deceased and leave the regular offerings that the Ka required, while a hidden burial chamber protected the mummy from harm. Within the tomb chapel, food and drink were offered on a regular basis. Having been spiritually consumed by the Ka, they were then physically consumed by the living. During the Feast of the Valley, an annual festival of death and renewal, many families spent the night in the tomb chapels of their ancestors. The hours of darkness were spent drinking and feasting by torchlight as the living celebrated their reunion with the dead. Number 4. Egyptian women had equal rights with men. In Egypt, men and women of equivalent social status were treated as equals in the eyes of the law. This meant that women could own, earn, buy, sell, and inherit property. They could live unprotected by male guardians, and if widowed or divorced, could raise their own children. They could bring cases before and be punished by the law of courts. And they were expected to deputize for an absent husband in matters of business. Everyone in ancient Egypt was expected to marry, with husbands and wives being allocated complementary but opposite roles within the marriage. The wife, the mistress of the house, was responsible for all internal domestic matters. She raised the children and ran the household, while her husband, the dominant partner in the marriage, played the external wage-earning role. Number 5. Scribes rarely wrote in hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphic writing, a script consisting of many hundreds of intricate images, was beautiful to look at, but time-consuming to create. It was therefore reserved for the most important texts, the writings decorating tomb and temple walls and texts recording royal achievements. As they went about their daily business, Egypt's scribes routinely used hieratic, a simplified or shorthand form of hieroglyphic writing. Towards the end of the dynastic period, they used demotic, an even more simplified version of hieratic. All three scripts were used to write the same ancient Egyptian language. Few of the ancients would have been able to read either hieroglyphs or hieratic. It is estimated that no more than 10% and perhaps considerably less of the population was literate. Number 6. The king of Egypt could be a woman. Ideally, the king of Egypt would be the son of the previous king, but this was not always possible, and the coronation ceremony had the power to convert the most unlikely candidate into an unassailable king. On at least 3 occasions, women took the throne, ruling in their own right as female kings and using the full king's titulary. The most successful of these female rulers, Hatshepsut, ruled Egypt for more than 20 prosperous years. In the English language, where king is gender specific, we might classify Sobeknefru, Hatshepsut, and Tausret as queens reignant. In Egyptian, however, the phrase that we conventionally translate as queen literally means king's wife, and is entirely inappropriate for these women. Number 7. Few Egyptian men married their sisters. Some of Egypt's kings married their sisters or half-sisters. These incestuous marriages ensured that the queen was trained in her duties from birth, and that she remained entirely loyal to her husband and their children. They provided appropriate husbands for princesses who might otherwise remain unwed, while restricting the number of potential claimants for the throne. They even provided a link with the gods, several of whom, like Isis and Osiris, enjoyed incestuous unions. However, brother-sister marriages were never compulsory, and some of Egypt's most prominent queens, including Nefertiti, were of non-royal birth. Incestuous marriages were not common outside the royal family until the very end of the dynastic age. Cleopatra is one of the best-known women in history, famed for her supposed beauty and intellect, and her love affairs with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. We can explore her incredible life, her quest for power, and her untimely end in books. Number 8. Not all pharaohs built pyramids. Almost all the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom 2686 to 2125 BC and Middle Kingdom 2055 to 1650 BC built pyramid tombs in Egypt's northern deserts. These highly conspicuous monuments link the kings with the sun god Ra, while replicating the mound of creation that emerged from the waters of chaos at the beginning of time. But by the start of the New Kingdom in 1550 BC, pyramid building was out of fashion. Kings would now build two entirely separate funerary monuments. Their mummies would then be buried in hidden rock cutout tombs in the Valley of the Kings, on the west bank of the Nile, at the southern city of Thebes, while a highly visible memorial temple situated on the border between the cultivated land, home of the living, and the sterile desert, home of the dead, would serve as the focus of the royal mortuary cult. Following the collapse of the New Kingdom, subsequent kings were buried in tombs in northern Egypt. Some of their burials have never been discovered. Number 9. The Great Pyramid was not built by slaves. The classical historian Herodotus believed that the Great Pyramid had been built by 100,000 slaves. His image of men, women, and children desperately toiling to the harshest of conditions was proven remarkably popular with modern film producers. It is, however, wrong. Archaeological evidence indicates that the Great Pyramid was in fact built by a workforce of 5,000 permanent salaried employees and up to 20,000 temporary workers. These workers were free men summoned under the corvée system of national service to put in 3 or 4 month shifts on the building site before returning home. They were housed in a temporary camp near the pyramid, where they received payment in the form of food, drink, medical attention, and for those who died on duty, burial in the nearby cemetery. Number 10. Cleopatra may not have been beautiful. Cleopatra VII, last queen of ancient Egypt, won the hearts of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, two of Rome's most important men. Surely then she must have been an outstanding beauty. Her coins suggest that this was probably not the case. All show her in profile with a prominent nose, pronounced chin, and deep-set eyes. Of course, Cleopatra's coins reflect the skill of their makers, and it is entirely possible that the queen did not want to appear too feminine on the tokens that represented her sovereignty within and outside Egypt. Unfortunately, we have no eyewitnesses' description of the queen. However, the classical historian Plutarch, who never actually met Cleopatra, tells us that her charm lay in her demeanor and in her beautiful voice. Well, which of these secrets might not be true? What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you're going to love to watch our video about whether or not the largest pyramid in the world is actually in Egypt. Make sure to click the subscribe button for future notifications and never miss our videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned.